Distracting? It's just me, guys. Just me. It's regular old me. So, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the secret ingredient is vanilla. So, there's a lot of love in there. But let's talk about session of cookies, all right? Who did the weekend work with session of cookies? That's right. All the hands went up. So proud. So proud. What is a session? Just in case. So what is a session? And why do we need it? What's the importance of a session? Well, what can we do right now with our apps? We can CRUD it up, right? Yes, you know it. Can you log in with a user? Not yet, right? But why can we not do that right now? You don't necessarily need authentication to be able to create like a user, but why can't you? Yes, we're not storing any data, right? HTTP requests are generally, and I'll put it in air quotes because it's like a little iffy, but generally speaking, they are stateless. So what does that mean? What does it mean when HTTP requests are stateless?
What happens in HTTP database?
Yes. Wow. I've never thought of it that way. Yes, what happens in the HTTP request stays in the HTTP request. Congratulations. I will now teach it that way. Yeah, very good, very good, very good. But what that means is that every single time I make a request, I load up a new website, I go to a new portion, a new resource within that website or that domain, it doesn't know about the previous request. And it's done like that on purpose because it's so much easier to have a client like Chrome or Edge or like Netscape to make a request to a server and then that server just spit back data. It doesn't actually have to keep track of a lot of the things that happened before. And what it is useful for is for speed. Right? Imagine it had to load all of the data every single time from every single previous request. That would take forever. Right? Every single time you went down the rabbit hole in Stack Overflow, it would get slower and slower and slower. And that would not be a good user experience. So it's done by design. And so we need something that can persist some sort of state from request to request. Is there anything we've used before that can do something like that? Yes. We've used Flash. And Flash lasts for how many requests? One additional request, right? And so what we want to do is we want to be able to keep track of state from request to request, but not that much. Just enough, like say, like a user ID, right? Like a username, something like that. And also, what's really useful is, let's say I'm building like an e-commerce site. I want to be able to keep track of like what is in your shopping cart, right? Like if I added something to my cart and then I continued shopping, I would like my shopping cart to still have all of the things that I added to it, right? So I can persist that state from one request to the next. Does that make sense? The reason I want to do e-commerce today is one, because it's hilarious, and two, because sessions and state are not exclusively used for like logging in, right? There are other purposes to it. I wanted to just expand your mind, right? Because we will get into that tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a lot. It's going to be like a double mega lecture on like authentication and bcrypt and all that cool stuff.
What I'm interested is tomorrow, what are you going to dress up?
As a normal person. Sorry, cat's out the bag.
Way to spoil the surprise.
Yeah, there was nothing fun or interesting about bcrypt unless I came in as like a crypt keeper or something, but that costs a lot of money, right? Yes, I'm poor. I'm a teacher. So let's focus up, right? It's a stateless protocol, and sessions allow you to maintain some state from one request to the next. Are there any questions on just sessions?
No. Is it like a gem or something, or is it just like a general term?
No, a session is what Rails provides you. And what it will do is it will send certain pieces of data back and forth between the requests inside the header. All right? And that way, for every single request, some of that data still exists. All right? So sessions is on the Rails side. Very good, thank you. All right, are you Rails is a monster. So is cookies. Yes. It is being recorded, but no video. So, sessions lives on the Rails side of the house, and Rails will keep track of the session, right? Cookies, on the other hand, besides being very delicious and extremely time-consuming to make, also exist in the browser. So we can check this, right? We can, in fact, open up the inspector, and we can go to our application, and we can look at something called cookies. We can pop this open, and we can see, for this particular website, I have all of these cookies. Now, cookies are nothing more than a hash-like object that takes in a key and responds to a value. That's all you really need to understand, right? Cookies are also domain independent, meaning if I were to say go to Giphy, right? And I were to go to inspect it, open my application, check the cookies, notice that these cookies are completely different than these cookies, right? If I were to go to Twitter or Instagram, the cookies are domain independent. That's why when I go into my Gmail, right, I'm still logged in based on Google's and Gmail's cookies. All right, so cookies live in the browser. I can always just clear them if I wanted to. What is this? Sure. Right? I could just, I'm not really like logged in or anything. But if I was, and I wanted to, if I were to go here and essentially delete all my cookies, then I would lose the session that I was in. Cookies are constantly passed back and forth. And so as different advertisements like change or load, then new cookies will be sent back and forth. Each individual request will provide me cookies into my browser. Any questions on just sessions, just cookies, and the purpose and necessity for them? What we can use them for?
When you say being passed back and forth, is it like from the browser to the server?
Yes. So we'll experiment and I'll show you here in a little bit, right? So here I have an application, right? It's pretty money application actually. Here we're in Flavor Town, all right? And all it is here's a menu, right? So what does this look like to you in terms of all the RESTful routes? Index, right? Because I'm seeing all of my nachos. And you can thank Andrew for this. They are painfully seated. So if I were to see something like, I don't know, trash can nachos, nachos literally made in a garbage can in the alleyway behind the restaurant. They're all like this, actually. Oh my God, danger dogs? It's So what he did was he actually went to Guy Fieri's website and pulled items off his menu and then just made ridiculous descriptions of them. But anyways, the point is, I would like to see, this is the functionality I'm trying to create, right? I want to be able to hit this add cart button, and after I click it, I would like this item, not necessarily to leave the index, but to be added to my cart, right? I think I added an emoji here. Oh, just kidding. What did I do in my index? I did something. Does it not like this? What a punk. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh, get items for, oh, yeah. Undefined method, get items from Nacho cart. Nacho's controller. I might be ahead of myself. Oh, yeah, there we go. I need to, where is, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Thanks. I didn't get rid of that, sorry. In that case, I'm definitely going to bring this back in. Bloop. Cool. Sweet. What the? I should have done this better. Where is this? Index? All right, cool. We'll get rid of this for now. Cool, right? That's what I want to do. I want to be able to add cart, and then I want to be able to, like, in my cart, persist through multiple requests and see those items come up. All right? So, first thing we want to do is we want to be able to have this add cart button to go somewhere that would potentially make sense. What would I have this go? Well, let's take a look at the button first, right? This is a button 2, right? It's just simply add cart. Where would this make sense to go? Right? Some sort of cart controller, right? And then in that cart controller, what am I trying to do to it? I'm trying to edit it, right? So there's some sort of like update happening. So let's go to routes. And in my routes, what do I need? I need some sort of get, right, to a cart, potentially, like a cart route, maybe. And then here, where am I going to? I'm going to my, like I need some sort of cart controller, right? So my cart controller needs to go to what? Some sort of like update, right? Because edit is what? Edit just shows the form, right? Do I need a view page for my cart? Will I need a view page for my cart? A separate individual page to show a cart or like all of my carts right now in my update or edit function. All right. Not yet. I'm just rendering the cart on the index. Right. What I need right now is to be able to update my cart. All right. So in my cart controller, there must be a method called update. And what it's going to do is it's going to update the contents of my cart. Right. So I can always do as like a path helper. Path helper. As what? Like add nacho to cart. Okay, so let's take a look at our routes. I think we can do like localhost Rails info routes. Okay, I didn't like that very much. Why? Do I have to restart the server? Undefined local variable add nacho to cart. Oh yeah, this one, like this? Cool, thank you. Cool, so I have some sort of add nacho to cart path, all right? And what that's gonna do is it's going to go to /cart and it's gonna hit a action, a method update in my cart controller. So I must have this method. But let's go to our view. All right. I need to go to this path. Yeah.
Well, that's still up. Might be getting ahead of ourselves. I don't know if session requires that to have an ID of the cart in the path.
ID of the cart in the path.
The session will have a cart specific to it, but there's not just going to be one generic cart for every session. Right?
Correct. Yeah. And I'll show you how to do that right now. Good question. So, and what is this method exactly? What is the HTTP verb that I'm looking for? All right, some sort of patch. And, as Chris alluded to, I must probably try to pass in some sort of params, right? And that params needs its own hash. So in these params, I'm looking for what? Like a nacho ID to be what?
ID of the specific card.
Nacho.id. All right, so remember, we still have access to nacho here in this iteration. So in my params, I want to pass in a new key of nacho ID from the value of nacho ID from here. So let's take a look at what that is, right? Let's drop a buy bug right here. So
You have a money sign in there? Is that
Price.
for the price.
oh, it's price?
Cool.
Got it. My bad.
Okay. Don't worry about that. That was me just messing around and doing it. So let's drop a buy bug, right? Because remember, I'm in my cart controller. I'm in a method called update, and that's what that route should hit, right? If we inspect and look at this, what was this? It was a button 2, right? And what does button 2 actually produce in HTML? It actually produces a post. Why? If we look closely, we can see that it's actually a form. Button 2 will produce like a little sneaky form. And what it's going to go to is it's going to do a post to /nachos, but I should refresh this and see what my new one will do. Come on, give me that. I hit it on the refresh. It shouldn't hit the buy bug. So if I look again, it's a button 2 with a post going to /cart, right? With the sneaky method hidden for a patch. So I know I'm going to hit a patch, right? With the action of /cart. And it's going to send these params, nacho ID with a value of 1 for this particular one, because that's ID 1, right? In the same way that this is going to be ID 2, right? Remember, name and value is going to come across as params. So let's hit this. Boom. No route matches /cart. Oh, is this not it? Someone seen what I missed? Oh, I'm sorry. Ugh. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing. Sorry. Cool. Cool. So now I hit this patch to /cart. It's going to hit my cart controller with the update method. So far, so good. So let's see and explore what it is that we have. So what is session here? It's a lot. I'm surprised your reaction was so mild, Johnny. I was expecting like, oh, damn! You
It's
know?
okay. I mean, I can't even read those lines anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Here we have something called add cookies, and you can see a cookie session, right? What it's going to do is it's going to like pass in all of these cookies. If you look really closely, I have Beanie Baby Shop here from before. I also have, there's a bagel shop somewhere. Did you guys see it? Oh, bagel shop session? Rails is storing all of my sessions because it all matched the same domain. And what domain was that? Localhost 3000. So it's storing and saving all of my cookies, right? So my cookies from before still exist, right? Which is why sometimes they're like, hey, have you tried clearing your cookies? Which is why some things might not be rendering or loading properly. Does that make sense? So now that we know that session has some sort of like data that you can pass through, can I find in my session, rather I can make, this is just looks like a hash, right? I can make some sort of key of cart, and I can equal it to be like 1. So if I go session and I ask for the key of cart, I can just call it. Right? So now my session has this new key. Right? What can I do with this key? If I'm passing it back and forth, what would I need to assign it? It's a lot to take in, I know, I'm just giving you a second. What makes sense?
Do you assign a card to the key?
Do I assign a cart to a key? I would assign the cart to an array, right? Because I want my cart to contain multiple of these keys, right? So let's do that. Can I then do something in my cart controller, like session with cart IDs, oop, bloop, 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 right, equals to, for right now, let's just do 1, right? What do we know is coming through here? What do we have? Oh, I lost it. We have a nacho ID that I pass through the button to, right? So I can always do params nacho ID. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So what does this give me?
Trash can.
Right. What I could do is a trash can.
Isn't that trash can?
Oh yeah, that's right. Trash can nachos. Sorry, I'm thinking about something else entirely.
There's no place like
Huh? Let's actually pass in something else, right? The ID is great. Let's pass in something else. Let's pass in the nacho name. Nacho man. Nacho.name. Oop. Right? So I just added this extra parameter to come through. So far, so good? Yeah, this is fine. So let's just continue. And let's go back. If I hit add to cart now, I'm stuck in my buy bug. And what do we have for params? I now have a nacho ID and my trash can nachos. Right? So if I wanted to, like say, render something like Flash. Flash is just another one of those like cool hashes that we have that we can assign any sort of key. All right? Here I want to make a key called notice because I'm trying to make you notice something. As opposed to what I named it error was because I was just going to give you a collection of errors. I can name this whatever I want. So I can say successfully added a, and I can interpolate, right, with, I don't need, yeah, I need to interpolate, bloop, params of nacho name to cart. And then I can just redirect to where? The nachos path. All I'm going to do is just resend it back to the nachos index. So upon click, all right, I should have in my session a new ID, all right, that matches the nacho ID, and then it's going to come across if I have flash notice. And so here I'm just going to do flash notice, right? And it's just a key, right? And it just equals this. So if flash notice, then, oop, probably don't want this. Flash notice. So far, so good. All I'm doing here is I'm making a new flash notice key that points to saying, hey, I've added this to the cart, and then I just redirect. Here I'm just checking to see if that flash exists, and if it does, render that flash notice, end. Right? Probably want to drop a p tag here somewhere. Okay, that wasn't what I wanted. I have to do it manually, like a.
Yeah, you have to make a space for some reason. It doesn't want to use HTML.
It doesn't like that?
Next to the interpretive space.
What a bum. So, if this wants to load, what's going on, Rails? I'm on the buy bug. Cool. I should see something like successfully added mac and cheese to the cart, right? Trash can nachos, chicken pot pie nachos. That just handles sort of like what's happening on the front end side. Notice how nothing actually comes across this cart because I haven't added anything to the cart yet. So far, just on the flash. So our refresh is gone. Yeah. Cool. So what I'm looking for now is an idea that I want to be able to add in all of my IDs into some sort of array. So then I can then display that array onto the front end and on that website, right? Let's think about this. Would I want this methodology and this logic inside my cart controller, or would it make sense to have this all-knowing cart in any one of my controllers to exist, right? Like let's just say I sold not just nachos, but also fries, burgers, because I go to diners, drive-ins, and dives, right? Flavor Town. And I have all these different controllers. Is there a place I can put this logic that all of my controllers will then inherit from? Inherit from. Inherit from. Oh, the application controller. Great suggestion. So, I'm sorry. That was like really lame. I thought it was funny. In my application controller, right, what would I need?
You basically need to design that method in a way that it can take whatever class is inheriting from this controller. So instead of nachos, it would be like class.
Okay. So what I'm thinking is I need some sort of cart, right? And that cart, we've determined, should be an array, right? So what I'm thinking is if the session, right, with the cart exists, then I would like to see the cart. Otherwise, whoa. Otherwise, I want to be able to create it. And I want to assign it to be an array.
Is it cart ID or just cart?
For right now, we'll just call it cart. It's not a big deal. Any questions so far? Who wants to see a cool refactor? Thank you. This is the same as saying, right, that if the session cart exists, return it. Otherwise, or have it be assigned to an empty array. Yeah? This is a concept in Ruby, or just in programming in general, known as caching, right? Meaning when I call cart, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to go on line 4 and it's going to do session with the key of cart. If it doesn't exist, what does it return? It should return nil if it doesn't exist, right? And if this side evaluates to nil, it will then check the OR and go on the other side. So this is just the assignment operator, and this is just an array. So if this is nil, then make it an array. So it saves this. Cool? All right. What happens now, right? Now that I have this cart and it's empty array, what do I want to do, or what can I do with this cart? Yes, let's do that. So let's make a method called add nacho to cart. Yeah, and what should we do here? We should take the cart and we should shovel in what? Some sort of nacho? But how do we get this nacho now? This probably takes in what? An argument? Like a nacho? Yes, no? No? So, how would I get this nacho? Remember, application controller is inheriting from everything. So in my nacho controller, my cart controller, I can probably push it in, right? I can call add nacho to cart, and I can pass in this nacho. But the problem is, I don't actually have this nacho object. What do I have instead? I only have the nacho ID. So I should change my application controller just say nacho ID.
Right, in line 4 of the cart controller, why are you setting the cart ID to the nacho ID?
Line 4. Oh, this one? I'm gonna get rid of it actually. But for now, this is what I'm looking for, right? This is just to show you that I had like sessions and I can like assign it to the nacho. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll play. This is like a pretty tricky thing because it's touching a lot of different controllers and information is being passed back and forth a lot. Who has followed along so far? Okay. What are your questions?
I mean, for me, I wouldn't say exactly what I have a question. So it's like when you introduce things, even if they're like relatively simple, like this, it just takes a little bit for me to get warmed up. So I could like do this right now instead of
Okay.
Is the structure of the session a hash that's available to all Rails applications hosted in the same server?
Yes.
So you can always add new keys and values to it as you see fit.
That is exactly correct.
I'm just confused about the with the route with like the cart and relating to the nacho controller, the cart controller and the nacho controller, how they connect because you're having. I'm just used to seeing how each controller is kind of separate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just confused as to how you chose specifically to set up the route, the cart route. So get cart.
It's not a get cart. I'm sorry. It was a patch to cart.
Yeah, patch right, yeah.
Mhm.
And so like I understand that you were only doing update because we're not rendering anything.
That's correct.
But I'm just confused about just generally.
Okay. So remember, a lot of you really enjoyed resources, Rails G resources, because it does all these things for you, right? It builds the models, it builds the controller, right? It builds like the views folder, and it does your routing. Will I need to do a show or an index or some sort of delete for my cart? Will I have view pages for my cart? So in this particular case, it would make the most sense to do like a Rails G controller for my cart and just give me a cart controller so I can handle and manipulate logic and pass it around my application. So with that being said, if I'm going to take an empty cart, right, and all I want to do is add or remove to it, what kind of action would you say that is? That'd be some sort of update action, right? So that update action implies that it's going to be like a put or patch, right? And so I just made the patch with the /cart, going to my cart controller, running the update method. And then this I just built as a helper. So just because I didn't go and explain the other CRUD, it's because I didn't need it, right? This is when custom routing becomes important. Any other questions? Guys getting sleepy from lunch? Do you guys want a break? All right, raise your hand if you want to take like a 10-minute break, and then we will continue the session, just so you can understand what happened here, and then I'm gonna like sum it all up again. All right, raise your hand for like a 5-10 minute break. Okay, go on break. Find a method called get items from cart, not necessarily nachos, right? And I can put @cart items, and I can have it do nacho.find, passing in, what's my array? Session cart. But if I call this method, what's it going to give me? It's going to give me the array. So I can call cart right here. Because remember, when I call cart, it's always going to return me an array. Either empty, or if it exists, everything that I've pushed into it. It's important that I have this as an instance variable, because now, what can I do with instance variable? I can use it to pass data to a view. So what view do I want to pass it to? Yes. The nachos, right? So that's why I did this, actually. Before action, I'm going to call this method get items from cart, only in the index. Therefore, in my index, I'm going to have access to get items from cart. Does that make sense? Right? In the same way that if I wanted to do the refactor, I can get rid of this, and I can do this. Because it's being invoked from the application controller, because it becomes inherited from here, I have access to those methods. Get items from cart will return me an instance variable. And the instance variable will now be available in my index. So far, so good. Right? So, one more time. I have a method, gives me an instance variable, and then because in the application controller, Nacho's controller inherits from it, I can just call the method from application controller right here. And that's going to give me that instance variable of cart items. So I have cart items in the index ready to go. I am going to refactor, and I'm going to do this before action. Same thing, right? Only in the index, I'm going to do get items from cart. So now in index, I have access to what instance variable again? Cart items, right? So, simple. And which one of these are items? And all I want to do is display the item. But what is the item right now? Is it? Let's check. Nacho.find. What do I get an array of? Objects, right? So realistically, I could probably call on the object the name.
Why wouldn't we just put the nacho objects into a cart?
Why wouldn't I put the nacho objects into the session cart? Yes, that's a very good question. In this session, if you notice, if you remember, all of these are string objects because the session can only take a maximum of 4 kilobytes of data. So everything that gets passed back and forth is just strings. I can only pass strings back and forth. So it's better that I just pass strings back and forth, and then when I'm ready, use that string, that Nacho ID, call it from the database, pass it to the view. That is the brilliance and the beauty and the importance of MVC and why we need controllers as opposed to calling it directly into the view. Right? Because if I have a situation where I only have the strings, I will then use my controller, touch the database, bring back those instances in the instance variable, pass it to the view, so the view can now render them properly, as opposed to pulling them directly from the session, which I won't have access to. Yeah? That was like a lot, actually. So let's actually finally, hopefully, go to Flavortown and see it work. Let's go to Flavortown. Oop. Oop. Okay. It's a bug. Undefined method each for undefined for nacho.
Do you only have one thing in the cart?
I only have one thing in the cart.
Well,
Did you instantiate cart as an array before you did that?
That's a very good question. Let's find out.
Which question was a good question? But it'll still return one.
Punks? It should just return 1? What did it give me back when I called it with 1? It gave me 1 item. What a bum.
Instantiate it as an array, and then you can shovel the array in.
You mean like this? Just be dirty? No, that's the wrong answer. I can't. It's too hacky for me. So,
Wait, you have an array plus.
let's do this, right? Before anything, let's get rid of the cookies. Bloop. What's this? Bloop. Gone. Oh, Bagel Shop 2. I'm sorry. It's rough. R.I.P. R.I.P. Bagel. Cool. Let's see what's happening here. Johnny to the rescue.
All you do is place cookies in it.
I think what happened is it puts it in an array, but because I hard-coded it in my seed data when I was in the Rails console, it messed up. It should come back as an array. So then now, as I add items, the array grows. And they will persist. But if I was grimy, and I didn't want to, go to application, and I can wipe my session, and then I refresh, and my cart is empty. Any questions on trash can nachos, mac and cheese nachos, sessions, cookies, how I was able to, and let's quickly summarize, right? From the index.
Did you record this?
Yes, it's being recorded. From the index, I'm doing this flash notice, right? Which is also coming from the controller. I'm looking through all my cart items and I'm just putting them in an unordered list. But they probably need to be in like this list item object. List item tag. Right? And I'm also just showing all my nachos with the button 2, right? The add nacho cart path, which goes to the cart controller update method with the patch, HTTP verb, and I'm passing in the nacho ID specifically. Nacho name was for an earlier example just to show you. So far so good on what's happening on the index page. Now, in my cart controller, I'm calling a method called add nacho to cart, which comes from my application controller, which all it does is, with the params of nacho ID from the button, the sneaky form, right? The button tag gives me a form, and I'm passing in the params of the nacho ID. I'm adding that ID to my cart, which is the session, which is normally an empty array or an array of nacho IDs. So my cart is an array of nacho IDs. I can then make an instance variable, which I'm going to pass to the view, by finding all the actual nachos with the array of all my nacho IDs. So in my nachos controller, I want to have access to all my cart items. So before my index, I get all my nacho items, which is now available here as an instance variable in my index. So back to the index, I have access to this, and I'm showing this. What are your questions?